let's talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So this was something my dad was very afraid of that I was going to get into when I was, I don't know, like 12, 13. He's like, I know you're listening to this weird music and, next thing you know with rock and roll, it's sex and drugs and all these other really horrible things. So I don't want you going down that route. It didn't work out too well. So I want to talk about what jobs and what industries are going to be around and profitable after the AI revolution takes place. Because I think that is something everyone really should start thinking about. I have. What jobs and what industries are AI proof? First off, I don't think there's anything actually AI proof, but there's definitely industries where AI is going to have, let's say, the least impact over a lot of others. So in the IT space, probably the most impactful, right? AI and IT are going to go together like peanut butter and jelly. And those are where the jobs are going to start getting decimated right out of the gate. And unfortunately, I'm in IT. So I need to really start thinking about, hey, I need to have another business that isn't going to be affected by AI. Just kind of start that thing kind of going to kind of hedge my bets. Nidus is not my only company. I have formed many companies over the years. I have a few going on right now, and they're in various different industries. They're not all IT related, and I kind of do that on purpose. But I'm a big fan of opening up companies that are recession proof. It was a word that I learned when I was in Iceland. Ooh, when was that? It was like back in like 2008 or so, maybe even earlier, maybe 2007. I was in Iceland interviewing this tattoo artist that owns a shop out there. He was I don't know if he still wasn't a Hells Angel at the time or former Hells Angel, but he learned to tattoo from the Hells Angels in Sweden, and then came over to Iceland, brought tattoo skills there, and then he started his shop there. So I was interviewing him, talking about the tattoo industry, and at that point in time, Iceland had just gotten out of a crazy, I don't know if it was a depression or what, but there was a huge financial crisis that took place in Iceland where they just got devastated, right? And I asked him, I was like, hey, so, how'd you do? How did you make out? Because, tattoo artists really live week to week or even sometimes day to day based on the work that they're doing. They're getting paid that day and they spend their money that day. So it's not uncommon that tattoo artists live kind of paycheck to paycheck. So I was like, man, how did you fare out, right? So I'm thinking if I lost my job or if my whole company went under, whatever, the first thing wouldn't be thinking about is, hey, I need to go get a tattoo. And what he told me completely changed my mind on how I view business moving forward. And what he told me was, hey, tattoos are recession proof. This is the best industry ever. When the whole crisis happened in Iceland, he made bank. I was like, what? Like, this makes no sense. When the whole country is financially going upside down, people are losing their jobs, their houses, their cars are being repoed left and right. I'm like, how are you murdering it in this time? And what he told me was that you can't repo a tattoo. I was like, that's kind of hilarious, because in the tattoo industry, we actually kind of talk about how, like, I don't get into too much, but there used to be an old thing where if you took someone's tattoo, meaning if you tattooed a tattoo that someone else already had, then you have the right to go and claim that tattoo. There was a case in point where a famous tattoo artist that has a big tattoo on his head, some guy in Russia copied that tattoo and put that tattoo on his head, and then there was talk about going and removing that guy's face. But we're not going to get into that part. But let's just talk about this recession-proof idea. So I was like, what? This is crazy. I'm like, what do you mean it's recession? Why are people going and flocking to get tattoos? And he says, because it's simple. Everything was so upside down and everyone's freaking out. Everyone's losing everything they have. No one really has any money. And the money that they did have was getting pulled out of their pockets in one way or another from the government or whatever right away. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go get myself a tattoo. They're getting sleeves and all kinds of crazy stuff because, you know what? Once the money's spent, they have the tattoo. No one's ever going to take that tattoo from them, and it makes them feel good. Because you're like, you know what? Hey, at least I got some new ink. That's kind of cool. Something fun to talk about while life sucks. That really struck a chord with me because I was like, man, this is crazy because it's totally true. No matter good times or bad times, people are always going to get tattoos. They want to get tattoos to remember bad times. They want to get tattoos to remember people. They want to get tattoos to remember the good times in their life to try to bring them back up. And having owned a tattoo shop now my tattoo shop will have been open 13 years here in 2 weeks. So we're actually going to be celebrating in Puerto Rico. So if you're in Puerto Rico, the first week of February at Live One Zinc in Carolina, Puerto Rico, just outside San Juan, we're going to be having a party celebrating our 13th anniversary. And you're more than welcome. Come on over. So while running this tattoo shop for 13 years, and I'm not claiming to have been the sole person. There's my manager down there, Alexis, who's amazing. He primarily runs the shop. But we found some very interesting things. When crazy disasters would happen, we would be booked solid. Case in point, let's go to the most recent one. Hurricane Maria. The whole island was completely wiped out. Banks aren't even open. There's lines for days for gasoline and water. People are still trying to figure out if they have loved ones buried up in the rainforest. I mean, it was crazy times after that hurricane. I was down there for that. I actually was down there. There was a hurricane coming in the week before, and I left with my family to New York. I was like, we're not going to be here for Puerto Rico. And it missed. And then we flew back because there was another hurricane coming, and this one was supposed to be horrible. This one's going to be really bad. And everyone was saying it wasn't going to hit. It wasn't going to hit. And I just didn't believe it. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm going down and preparing anyway. So went down, prepared the shop as if we were going to be hit. And we did. And that was Hurricane Maria. And where it hit in Humacao, in the southeast corner of Puerto Rico, is where I lived. Winds were up to 240 miles an hour. Something absolutely just batshit crazy. The next day, the island looked like winter. The whole rainforest was just sticks. It was the creepiest feeling ever driving around. Because you look outside and you think, man, I should be freezing cold because there's no vegetation. It looks like winter, but it's 95 degrees out. It was the trippiest thing. But tattoo shop was open 2 days later with generators and running, and we were tattooing people. People were coming in from all over to get tattooed all day, every day. Why? Because they had nothing else to do. They had money to spend on, or we'd be bartering for food and things like that. And people wanted to get tattooed, and that solidified. We had a couple other times before this, but this one was obviously the biggest, the biggest disaster that's happened to Puerto Rico since I've been there. And people were still getting tattooed literally like 2 days later. Not a problem. Like, we were back in business. So because we were back in business, that means all of my artists were able to make money. Landlords were still charging rent. It didn't matter if there was no power. It didn't matter if there was no water. We still had rent to pay, and it was due. We had to pay it back later. They didn't charge us until like 6 months later when they got their systems back online. Then they said, hey, by the way, you owe us 6 months of rent. So there was no leniency there. But everyone did well. All my artists were able to make money to buy food and water and supply for their families because everyone wanted to get tattooed. And this led back to the whole recession-proof thing. The best industries to be in overall are the ones where no matter how good things are, people want it. And no matter how bad things are, people are going to want it. I had another business down in Puerto Rico that also catered to that, and that did really well too. So this, I feel like, really kind of goes hand in hand with this whole AI thing, because the businesses that really are recession proof kind of also have that whole, not anti-AI, but they're the kind of the least affected by AI, because these businesses are either more creative, but more specifically, I think they tie to let's just like a dopamine rush, if you will. It's a feeling. You're selling a feeling to people, and feeling is not technological. They've been trying. I mean, don't get me wrong, like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all these things where they're just scrolling and get you to click stuff and likes and constant notifications and messages to drive you completely bat crazy to where you want to throw your phone into the Hudson. Yeah, of course, they're playing onto the dopamine rush that they're trying to give you, but it's nothing like getting tattooed. It's nothing like getting blackout drunk with your friends in the bar in Manhattan and running around the city doing completely dumb shit all night long. So AI is not going to It's not going to replace alcohol. AI is not going to replace cigars. AI is not going to replace tattoos. AI is not going to replace love. AI is not going to replace things that give you a good feeling. So I think it's going to be a great industry to be in, to something that sells feelings to people, because we're going to be getting even more remote and isolated from other people, which I believe then is going to cause people to desire and want feeling even more so than they ever have before. So I don't know if alcohol is the right answer. I'm not going into the alcohol business. I'm seeing alcohol sales actually go down a lot. When going out to the bars and talking to people, way less people are drinking nowadays. A lot more people are drinking non-alcoholic beverages, like whether it's non-alcoholic beers or whatever. A friend of mine actually in the East Village, she opened up a non-alcoholic bar, and I was just there last night and it was packed. Not a single drop of alcohol in the whole place, and the place is packed with people paying $10, $12, $15 for mocktails with no alcohol in them. That's crazy. And you gotta ask yourself, well, why? Why would they be paying all this ridiculous amount for the drink doesn't do anything. It's like, it tastes good. You might as well drink a Kool-Aid. There's no real difference. And I had a couple, just to hang out and have fun there. But what are they paying for? Why are they giving up their hard-earned money to this person to make them something that is, you could just buy in a grocery store? It's the social aspect. It's that feeling of going out and hanging out with your friends and meeting new people and interacting with people and having fun times and telling stories and doing crazy things and whatever. Now, it's not lowering inhibitions and providing that kind of a feeling enhancement, but a lot of these people, they're not drinking, but they're what's known as Cali sober. I'll let you Google that one. So they're still not sober, right? And that's kind of the world where everything is kind of going to, is I think people are going to be craving feelings more. So what businesses are going to be AI proof? I would look for the ones that give you a real feeling. So that brings us back to sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's not a bad combo. Think old school Vegas. People go to Vegas and they drop tons of money. And why? Is it the chance that they're going to win tons of money? No. That's not why people do not go to Las Vegas because they think they're going to win big and you're going to cash in that $1 million lottery ticket and they're never going to have to work again. No. I mean, great. Everyone has those secret hopes. I'm going to pull the slot machine, or I'm going to put $1,000 on, number 6 and let's see what happens. And life-changing money. It happens. Obviously, that's kind of the draw, but that's not why people go to Vegas. People go to Vegas because they get to let loose. They get to pretend to be someone they're not. They get to have fun, lower their inhibitions, do things they normally don't do, and none of that is going to be replaced by AI. You cannot, if you want to get into the whole like Neuralink kind of weird probes into your brain to make you feel and think you're actually in Vegas when you're not sure, maybe, but I think that one is a good safety amount of time away. So I'm not really worried about that one right now. So those types of feelings, though, that people are desperate for, and how desperate? Well, how packed is Las Vegas all the time? That's how desperate it is. Because wherever they're coming from, it's boring as shit, or they need something different, something new to do. So they want that. They want a new feeling, a new rush of some kind. So they go to Vegas, they gamble, they buy hookers, they go buy drugs, they do a whole bunch of crazy shit that they would never do in their hometown, and then they go back home and they remind everyone on the flight home what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Las Vegas, the oddest slogan I've ever heard. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, they say. Of course it's not true. You can't kill a person and leave. They'll follow you across state lines and bring you back, and you'll face a jury of your peers. So I said, what does that mean? What does it mean? Like, what are they getting at, I started ruminating about it. I started whittling.
Oh, you whittle?
Yeah, when I ruminate, I whittle.
Whittle and ruminate.
Yeah, I whittle.
Hand in hand.
And I said, what does that actually mean? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? And it came to me in a sudden. What it means is you can have sex with a prostitute in Las Vegas and she will not tell your wife.
Except everyone posts it on Instagram, so it doesn't matter anymore. But that's the whole idea, though, is that you got to tap into that mindset of you need to get into a business that is going to sell a feeling or an experience to people that is real. That's going to be one of those things that's not tangible. Unfortunately, we've spent the last decade telling everyone that computers is where it's going. You need to become a YouTuber and an Instagram influencer and all this online BS. It'll work. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are. Ian, I want to ask you to look this up.
Sure.
Okay. So how much money? Okay, two questions. One, how much money has OnlyFans made to date?
Good question. Yeah, let's
And then
see.
the other one is, what is the average monthly income of a person on OnlyFans?
Yeah, I know that for the average person, it's much lower, but let's see how much money.
I think we're going to hear some shocking numbers.
According to, I don't really know what this blog is, but it's the first thing I'm getting on Google is saying OnlyFans profits. As for profits, OnlyFans has had $1.2 billion in 2022. And then it says that's double of 2021. So
Let's check. I'm going to ask Perplexity.
Go
Let's
for
see
it.
Here. Let's see here. Let's see what we got. We've been talking about the use of the right AI, so let's use AI. Here we go. So, how much has OnlyFans made to date? Take a guess. How much does the average OnlyFans person make a month? And how much does the top earning OnlyFans person make a month? Okay, let's see what we got here. Based on available data, here's an estimate. Seriously, this new iOS is horrible. This 18, since 18, it's been total fucking garbage. I don't know what happened or who's in charge of making these iOS updates, but this person needs to be fired.
I haven't noticed.
It is so bad. Everything about it is just completely stupid. So whoever you are, I hope your head is on a pike. Okay, anyway, let's go back to the fun stuff. Okay, so based on the available data, here is an estimate of OnlyFans earnings. OnlyFans total revenue. OnlyFans has likely generated over, what do you think it is?
Well, from when I looked it up, it said like for years, for like 1 year, it was 1.3 billion. So because I have that information already, I'm going to say somewhere between like 5 billion. And
They were founded in 2016.
yeah, so I was going to say, I know it's probably somewhere a little under 5 billion.
Over 10 billion.
Wow.
10 billion.
Is that definitely right though?
Well, in 2023 alone, the platform reported gross revenues of 6.63 billion in 1 year.
See, that's why I'm wondering though, because when you see the conflicting information, because on Wikipedia, I'm seeing something
So here's
different.
the thing. So now we go to the reference. Where is it pulling this from? So this is from Statista.
Because Wikipedia, I'm seeing 1.3 billion in 2023, and that's from Phoenix International Limited.
So here, this is from the OnlyFans gross revenues 2019-2023. London-based Phoenix International Limited, which is a parent company of online video and community platform OnlyFans, has reported the platform. So this is coming right from the company. So 2019, they did 0.27 billion. In 2020, they did 2.2 billion. In 2020, this is way over 10 billion. So that number is wrong. 2021, 4.8 billion. 2022, 5.5 billion. And then 2023 is 6.6 billion.
Is it possible that that's what's coming into the business without expenses, and that's why it's that high?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Revenue. That's all I care about. This company, and so, in just, what was it, 5 years? So in 5 years, it's done 11, 12, 17, 19. It's basically in 5 years, it's done $20 billion. It's crazy. Okay, let's go back to the other things. Okay, average creator earnings. The average creator only earns $150 to $180 a month. So
I knew that was going to be low
yeah,
because everybody has the aspiration of, oh, I see that that like that girl Bad Baby is living in like a Boynton Beach mansion, but that's not you. You're a random girl who like would be working at CVS.
it's just like YouTubers. There's YouTubers out there making crap tons of money, like Mr. Beast and the Logan Pauls and all those guys for sure. But the average person, we make like $100 a month.
No, we're doing better now. We're you know what's funny? It's like you could just go to Social Blade and see, right? Because now we're bringing in, I don't know, I think we're bringing in like 250 a
Watch
month.
out.
Yeah.
I'm quitting everything. I'm doing this full time.
I think we're going to get there.
So, okay, top earners. Black Black China reportedly earning around 20 million a month. What? Bella Thorne made 11 million a month, and Iggy Azalea is earning 9.2 million a month. Holy crap. So this just goes to show my point, though.
And by the way, for those women, because they're not, just random girls, they don't have to do anything crazy. They're probably just either maybe naked or provocative photos, but they're not having like full blown sex on the platform. I don't think. So.
I don't know. Honestly, I
doubt it. I doubt it.
I'm legitimately one of the probably only people that's never logged into OnlyFans ever looked. So I don't
never
know.
have. Never
now,
have.
if I was 18 or even younger, I probably would have been all over that shit. But whatever. So this kind of just goes to confirm my whole point. OnlyFans has been growing to where they've done $20 billion in the last. What are they selling? They're selling sex. Everybody knows this. It's like Pornhub. Everyone knows the logo.
Do you remember for a short period, not to get you off track, but do you remember for a short period they were talking about taking pornography off the platform? And then people were like, that's the whole idea of the platform. Why are you going to kill your whole business model?
Politics. I guarantee it was just politics. So this kind of covers the whole point, right? So sex, drugs, and alcohol sells. Sex, drugs, rock and roll.
You said rock and roll.
Yeah, my bad. I'm looking at my liquor cabinet. So there's the sex part. Now, I'm not saying everyone should go get into the sex industry because you're going to wind up making $150 a month on average. Just remember that. It's just like everything else. Like everyone's like, oh, these CEOs with their golden parachutes and they're making so much money. It's not fair. It's like, yeah, well, look at the top earners of the NBA. Look at the top earners in any industry and they're making bank. The top earners in the sex industry are making way more than anyone in the NBA right now. What's the highest NBA guy? What's like LeBron James make? Is he the highest?
Yeah, he would be. I do know that Juan Soto for baseball just got an insane contract. If you look at how much he made.
Let's look. So let's see.
Juan Soto, I think, just got the biggest sports contract in the history of sports. So he'd be a good one to look at.
All right, who's the highest sports paid
Juan
player?
Soto. Yeah, Juan Soto.
Now. All right, let's see what we got here. Is that soccer too, though? I thought soccer would be more. Like those worldwide people are crazy about soccer.
I just know as a Mets fan that they've been saying the Juan Soto contract is the biggest in the history of sports.
Cristiano Ronaldo is currently the highest paid athlete in the world as of January 2025. The Portuguese soccer star total earnings have reached an unprecedented $260 million. What's that guy you're talking about? What's he make?
It might not be that because it's a longer contract, but if you look him up, Juan Soto, SOTO, you can look up just what his contract was from the Mets.
So let's just take this out. $260 million. Let's just pretend that he made all of that in 1 year. That would be just a little bit above the top OnlyFans earner. And that's, yeah. So the top whoever that Black China person is making 20 million a month is making more than Cristiano Ronaldo. That's insane. That's crazy. And I remember Cristiano Ronaldo because when I went to Madeira, little islands off Africa, it's actually a really amazing place, by the way. I highly recommend checking it out. But you land at the Ronaldo airport. It's dedicated to him. That was pretty bizarre. When we were landing and everyone's cheering and I was like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, it's a soccer player guy. And that's how I learned about this dude. But anyway, so there's the whole sex part. So sex is definitely going to bring in money. It's always going to bring in money forever because everyone always wants it. So something to think about. But just like YouTube, you're probably not going to make that much money there unless you just murder it. But the industry is massive, right? That's all I'm going to get at there. Now, let's go to the next one. Drugs. Well, you have legalized cannabis. That was the huge boom. It was like 2016, I think, is when that went legal. And there was a huge boom, and he went to the stock market. And, I mean, what's the legal cannabis market worth in the U.S. right now? Let's see.
I have no clue on that one. You would know better than me on this, but it probably made more when it first took off, right, than it's making now.
I don't think so because it's more widely spread. I think over half the states now have some form of a program. As of 2024, the U.S. legal cannabis market is worth around $35 billion. Big market. Drugs. Now let's take the other types of drugs. What about like the Pfizers and stuff for those guys? They're making all the oxycodone and all that kind of fun stuff that they're getting everyone hooked on. How much is that worth?
And the vaccine, everything. Yeah.
I'm not saying that word.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of money. We know that.
Actually, pharmaceutical, we can say worldwide, right? How much does the worldwide pharmaceutical industry make a year in revenue? So people are always going to be sick. People are always going to be depressed. They're going to be way more depressed soon too. So people are going to need pills, right? That's going to be a thing. Where let this go? Okay, there we go. So pharmaceuticals, what are we looking at here? So now we're talking drugs. Okay, current market as of 2023, 1.6 trillion as of 2023 is the pharmaceutical market. That's a great market to be in. Jesus. I wonder what it take. I'm going to say, take a guess for now. Okay, so now we're going to see what it thinks for 2024. So, sex industry, tons of money. Drug industry, tons of money. AI is not going to replace Prozac. I don't know if Prozac's being out there anymore, but it's not going to make morphine patches. It's not going to make anesthesiologist medicine, whatever the hell that is that people use. Whoa, it went back to Cristiano Ronaldo.
Adderall, I think that's a big seller.
Adderall. Okay, that makes sense. So, drug industry, great industry to be in, but, you know, you have the risk of going to jail. So maybe that's not the best one to get into. And something tells me the entry to that is probably pretty difficult. I don't think you're going to start up a company to compete against Pfizer anytime soon. So let's see here. So 2024, it's still saying 1.6 trillion. That's interesting. So that's massive. Okay, so now sex industry makes a ton of money. Drug industry makes a lot of money. Rock and roll. So that's the next one. Now, when I say rock and roll, it's really just arts, right? Live performing arts, not just the rock and roll, because I think rock and roll is probably one of the lowest in the music business.
Yeah, I thought you were going to just talk about maybe like the massive, because I remember when I was over here, we were talking about how much Linkin Park and Metallica were contracted to play for Sick New World in Vegas, and we were both like, holy, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, then Taylor Swift, though.
Taylor Swift is another level, which was a whole nother podcast we did.
Taylor Swift is worth $1.6 billion. I heard she gave everyone on her last tour $100,000 bonus that was on the tour. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea, but
I heard that as well. Yeah,
that's crazy. And someone did the stats, and then that was like the equivalent of us buying everyone a Starbucks coffee. That's a good person to be on, but that's another one. Performing arts. Performing arts is not something AI is going to replace. You're going to see it augmented for sure in the backdrops and making the music sound better and whatever. But in the end, a live performance of some kind in front of you doing something that takes massive talent is going to be a rare thing, and it's going to become even more rare right now. This is something I was actually talking about with my wife the other day, as I was saying about how, like, you know, and on that other podcast, which we still haven't named what we're going to call that thing yet, just called Shit Show for right now. But it's that their kids aren't learning musical instruments. Kids aren't learning arts. They're learning YouTube. They're learning Minecraft. They're learning on their tablets. They're on their computers just forever. That's all they're doing now. So none of them are going to learn any of these artistic qualities. And so that whole realm is going to disappear. But I don't think, no, it's not going to disappear. It's going to be a lot smaller. So I think there's going to be a huge demand for it soon. I think we're going to reach an interesting gap where a crap ton of people are going to be laid off. Everyone loves live music. It doesn't matter what genre you prefer, if it's country or just people like Taylor Swift, I don't know what that is, that pop or whatever, or metal, doesn't matter what it is. People love a live performance, even if it's an art, like they want to go see a play or like the movies are modern day things. It's like, oh, well, Sora, not even Sora, but V0 from Gemini, it's going to kill the movie industry. Sure, that's creative, but it's not going to, AI is not going to kill Broadway plays. You know what I mean? It's not going to, the effect of a Broadway play when you're watching it in person, when you're seeing this huge theatrical performance in front of you with all these people doing amazing things, AI is not going to replace that.
I don't know your feelings then, just since we're on it, of, I think, as you know, there's like a virtual ABBA show now, and then Kiss in the next couple years, they're going to do an AI Kiss. That's their plan.
I totally see that. Just like the holograms with Michael Jackson and all that they did before.
Yeah. And this will take it to another level.
Yeah. And you know, it's going to be like the Sphere. It's going to be that. And like, I want to go, I've yet to see a show at the Sphere. I really want to. It's just that U2 and then it was Grateful Dead. I'm not really a big fan of either. So I'm waiting for something really cool that I'm interested in that shows up there. One day it will, and then I'll go. But I've seen the pictures from in there, and friends of mine have gone there and some video, and it looks amazing. I totally want to check that out, obviously. But if you look at it, you're not really looking at the person. It's like big stadium shows, right? Like these big stadium shows, like, oh, cool, there's that, there they are, they're singing, and you're really just watching them on the big screen more than you're actually watching the live performance. So, you know, that's kind of the, again, that's the Black Chinas of the world. You know, it's like you want to be Metallica when you want to start a band, but realistically, you're not going to be. So, but it doesn't mean you can't do well and you can't make a solid living doing something in the artistic realm. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to have a huge divide. We're going to, and the whole like rich to poor, like that gap, that middle class is going to be squeezed out to pretty much nothing. You're going to have the haves and the have-nots, and it's going to be almost like, have you ever been to Rio? Have you ever been to Rio de Janeiro? It's an amazing place, but I think it's a very good telltale sign of where things are going to go everywhere else. You have super rich people living right next to the super poor people. And I mean super rich, you know, these people trade faces for Christmas. And then you have super poor where they're literally killing people for bread to survive. When you have that level living together, crime is just insane, and the people in the low end can't get out. And generally, how do people come from really low, impoverished areas and make it out? Most of the time is through some form of an artistic thing that they're able to do, and not something. I mean, technology was one back in the day when you could just start a company out of your garage, and it still is now, and it still will be with AI, but your average person is not going to be doing that. But your average person can become the next Mike Tyson. Your average person can become the next Metallica. Your average person can become the next Black China. Your average person can become the next Cheech and Chong, or whatever the big, you know, drug guys are.
You are sort of contradicting yourself, because you did just say you're not going to become Metallica.
You're not. I'm saying, but those dreams of becoming Metallica are what create people to make a band in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. Like, people want to become the next Mr. Beast, so they start a YouTube channel. People want to become the next Black China, and they think they're going to make $20 million a month, you know, doing whatever they do. And so they jump on OnlyFans and they find out they only make $150 a month. But what I'm saying is, it's like, why do people, I'm 7 feet tall, right? I think we've gone over this before. Everyone asks me every single day, which is probably why I don't go out much, do you play basketball? And it drives me absolutely bonkers. No, I don't. I never have. You know, I mean, I've played pickup games. I've like playing for fun. I've not played ever on a high school basketball team, college, none of that. I never cared about sports. It was never really into my thing. But why do people play basketball? Like, why do people play baseball? Why do they go to baseball camp? Why are they going to and playing hockey and all these other things? What's the reason that they get into it? I think it's twofold. I think the first one is it's fun. It's something you can do and you enjoy it. So it starts out as, oh, I like this. This is fun. I like playing basketball with my friends. I like going and playing football or street hockey and all these fun things. And holy shit, I'm actually good at it. And now I have a scholarship. And now I'm getting offered to be paid to do this thing. But the real dream is that, oh, I'm going to become the next LeBron James. I'm going to get an NBA contract. And that's what everyone always comes up to me for. No one ever asked me, hey, do you play basketball because you love it so much? It's, oh, hey, do you play basketball because you'd make a ton of money? It's like, really? It's like, hey, have you ever started a company? Because CEOs make a ton of money. It's like, no, you have to be the best at what you do to make a ton of money. One of the big things in basketball, it's not just being tall. You have to be good at basketball. That's the part I think no one seems to understand. Like, you can't just be tall. And I have the perfect case in point of this. Growing up my whole life, there was me and this other kid. His name was Joe. I don't want to give his last name because I don't know what he's doing, and I don't really feel like calling him out. But we were both very tall, like pretty much the same growing up ever since like kindergarten. We went to school together all the way through high school. Now, he went down the route of playing basketball and going for the big dream of, I'm going to be in the NBA. And that was his whole thing, because he was tall and everyone told him, hey, you're tall, you're going to be in the NBA, you're going to make millions of dollars playing basketball. He didn't even get selected to go to college. And his whole life up through 12th grade was basketball, but he just wasn't good enough and no one cared in college. And I have no idea what happened to him. I'm kind of curious. Actually, you know what? I bet I could find him. Let's just take a little look here. But the whole point is, it's the dream of that possibility of doing something that you enjoy and making a ton of money at it. It's almost like winning the lotto, right? And everyone but not as lucky because it's also skill, and by putting in effort and training and practicing and sacrifice, that's how they become awesome. It's not just because they're amazing, and it's not just because they're tall. It's because they sacrifice a ton to become amazing, right? Another reason why these things are so attainable for people is because it doesn't take anything to possibly become the next LeBron James besides personal sacrifice. It doesn't take money. Well, without going into all the nuances, right? You need a basketball and a hoop. It's like for baseball, you need a bat, a baseball, and a glove. Like your investment into that particular thing for an art isn't a lot. If you want to become the next music star, well, you need a guitar. Well, if you want to play guitar, and guitars aren't terribly expensive. Or if you want to be a singer, you just need to sing. What you need is an audience. So you just go out and start playing in front of people at bars and around shows. So the barrier of entry into artistic fields is extremely low. Mastering it is very difficult, but it takes time, effort, and sacrifice. And those that do it wind up doing pretty well. So that's why I think the whole rock and roll thing is another area that's going to be anti-AI, even though we're going to have, like you're saying, like Kiss, they're going to have an AI show and they're going to have these holograms and all these things. Yes, all that's definitely going to exist. But there's nothing like going and sitting in front of someone that's playing or singing and they're just phenomenal at what they do. And there's only 20 people there and you're just listening to like this live performance that just blows your socks off. You get a guttural feeling from watching them perform whatever their thing is. Even if it's painting, watching someone paint live and make some crazy masterpiece. Look at the street artists. Those are some of my favorites. Like when you go around and you see these guys making these cool like space scenes, or they're doing real life caricatures of people and they're hilarious and they're fun. AI is not going to do that. Sure, AI can make an image and make it look funny, but it doesn't give you that same experience of when you're sitting with your friend and someone's drawing it all up and they turn around and they're ripping on you, making fun of you because you have a big nose or whatever. This whole thing, I know I've kind of like rambled on, but you have to find an industry that's going to be AI proof. And I would really recommend putting a lot of time into that right now. And if you are on the entrepreneurial side, it's probably a really good idea to start up a company right now that's somehow tied to sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or some other form of a recession-proof business, something that's going to be AI-proof. I think that's going to be a really interesting niche. That's those that figure it out now will be able to fill in that gap and that void that's about to come. Because like I said, kids these days are not out playing basketball. They're not out, trying to create drama class and band camp and all these other things that like used to be huge and full of kids doing things all the time. They're just not doing it. Now they're on their tablet. Now they're coding. Now they're doing all this stuff. And it's cool, but we're going to have a huge creative gap. And I believe who's going to take that over is not us. So China's going to win from the technology manufacturing standpoint, and some other country that's not us is going to win from the creative standpoint. And I'm really curious to see who comes out on that one. I don't think we're really going to know who that is probably for about another 10 years, but I'm not seeing it come from here. I think you get the best creative stuff and people in destitute situations where when they don't have anything else, like that's when you have that hunger, right? You need to have that drive and that desire. This is what I struggle with my kids all the time because, it's like when I grew up, my mom, single post office worker, mail delivery person, right? And, 3 kids. So we weren't balling by any stretch outside Detroit. So because of that, I always was trying to figure out how to make money because I was sick of being told, no, we can't have it. No, we can't afford it. No, you can't do that. So it was lots of strife and being told no, and it's impossible and wishing and hoping. And I was just like, screw that. I'm just going to make it happen. I just, been busting my ass ever since. So you have to have kind of that, was it like the breakup diet? Like when you break up out of a relationship, all of a sudden, you start working out and getting haircuts and start actually caring about yourself again. It's like you have to have the lows in life to really push that primal kind of desire to make things happen. And we've become too marshmallow in this country, I feel like. over the past almost like 20 years now, but let's just say the last decade, I think the US has become the most marshmallow country out there. Everything is, I just saw some kid, it was like 13 years old, riding his bike around, and he's got, a pair of like the Apple headphones on. I was looking at my wife, I'm like, when you were growing up, did you ever see any friends of yours running around with $300 headphones or $1,000 phone in their pocket? Like, that's crazy. And now it's commonplace. Every kid's got phone. Every kid has a crazy tablet. We haven't been telling our kids no. We've just been saying, oh, I want them to have the best stuff, and we get it for them. And I think that's crazy. So I think those that are going to be struggling now are going to have the best possible future against AI in the next 10 years. So what do you do for your kids and what do you do for yourself? So for yourself, like I said, find a business that you're into, find something that you could be passionate about, that you love. And it's going to be hard, but find one and then start growing it now. Start building that business up. So this way, when AI just completely decimates whatever it is that you're doing now, you have this other business to fall back on. Right? We all know this. You need to diversify. Having all of your money or all of your time into one thing is death, because if that thing dies for whatever reason, for some circumstance that you never could have imagined happening, like COVID, everyone just being told you can't work anymore, right? Just things happen that you will never expect that could completely eliminate that line of business. Perfect example, like I was saying, Puerto Rico, when Hurricane Maria happened, what IT business am I doing when I have no power? I have no form of communication. There's no cell phones. There's no nothing for months. I wasn't able to do any IT work of any kind. It was impossible. So what did I do? Well, I lived off my tattoo shop. So because my tattoo shop was doing so well and it's an all cash business, I was able to survive and pay for food for my family and live because of this other business that was like kind of like a side hobby for the longest time. Because some crazy catastrophic thing happened that no one saw coming that just decimated the other lines of business. So if you are the entrepreneur person, I highly, highly recommend to figure out another form of business that's not going to be touched by AI, that sells a feeling or an emotion to people, because they will always want that. And if you can be the supplier of it, you're going to be okay. So I want to know from you guys, what do you think? What kind of industries do you think are out there that are AI proof? Are you in one right now? I'd love to hear it. I'd love to know what's going on out there. I mean, I honestly challenge anyone to have like a call with me and say how their industry is AI proof. Let's have a conversation about it, because I would love to play devil's advocate so we can try to find what these businesses are that we want to get into. And then I'll also keep you up to date with how well mine does, as that I've kind of started up here on the side over the years as we go too. Actually, I think we're going to find out in the next few months. But that's about all I got to say. So long live sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Later. Nidus has just created the first iOS app made exclusively for identity management professionals. It's called Nidus Breachcast, and you can download it now. It's amazing. We have real-time updates of all the latest breaches that are occurring, CVEs as they come out real-time, really pertaining just to identity management. We have media that's going on in this podcast. We're going to be bringing in a lot more others as well. And we even have a complete vendor list of all the identity management vendors and all their products, so you can find out exactly where to download their software, all the documentation. And what's even more awesome is an identity management glossary. All those crazy words and acronyms that we can never remember, they're all listed in there for you. No ads, just pure information to make your life simple.